A new bill passed that could pave the way for Belizeans to vote in a referendum on settling their border dispute with Guatemala. Our top story in Caribbean Newsline for Tuesday, April 16th. From the CMT News Center in Bridgetown, I'm Dawn Paris. Good evening. The Senate in Belize has passed legislation for the government to go ahead with its referendum on taking the country's territorial dispute with Guatemala to the International Court of Justice, the ICJ. The Belize Territorial Dispute Referendum Bill 2019 got the approval of the Upper House on Monday, 3 days after the Parliament gave its nod. It will now go before the Governor General for his signature, and the Prime Minister will request a writ of referendum, which can be called within 10 days. A date for the vote is expected to be announced in the next few days. A referendum had originally been set for April 10th, but could not go ahead because the opposition People's United Party, the PUP, obtained a court injunction while it challenges the validity of the 2008 special agreement that ended negotiations between Belize and Guatemala and paved the way for the dispute to be taken to the ICJ. With the new bill passed, the PUP says it will wait to see if Chief Justice Kenneth Benjamin will discharge the injunction. We get more on the passage of the legislation in the Senate in this News 5 report.
The motion brought before Upper Parliament is a second step in government's passage of a new legislation that will allow for an ICJ referendum to be held in the weeks ahead, sidestepping the legal process that frustrated the scheduled holding of the national vote on April 10th.
Mr. President, I rise to take charge of the Belize Territorial Dispute Referendum Bill of 2019. And Mr. President, in accordance with Standing Order number 49-1, I move that the bill be taken through all its stages forthwith.
And with that, the debate was open to input from parliamentarians on both sides of the floor, including the NGO, trade unions, and business community. Senator Mark Lizarraga was first in making his contribution. Among Lizarraga's concerns is the politicization of the referendum campaign. He also raises the question of litigation risks, a point which he says continues to go unanswered.
This is a national issue. We need to have meaningful buy-in by the citizens of this country. What are the risks of losing? And discuss them, man. What are the risks of really saying no? I'm not fearmonger. And not tell me that if we go to the ICJ, the people and stop coming at the Chickabul and destroy the forest. Because that will never happen just because of a court judgment. We need to protect our borders. Let's get it right. This is an opportunity. The law will pass. We have mentioned our concerns about the law. But hit the pause and give the process, give the legal process a chance to work. Stop with this business of trying to legislate and wiggle your way out of trouble.
Opposition Senator Eamon Courtney, during his presentation, also raised salient points in respect of the bill that has come before the Senate by putting forward that there was no need for a new legislation in the first place.
The Referendum Act, as it currently exists, is well capable, with some amendments, of authorizing the holding of the referendum. There was therefore no need for us to come with a special purpose bill in order to have the referendum.
The vote passed with 8 senators in favor and 4 noes. There was 1 abstention, like her PUP colleague in Parliament, Said Musa. Opposition Senator Valerie Woods abstained from the vote because she believes Belize has an arguable case at the ICJ and that the Belizean people should have the right to decide whether to take the dispute there. Meantime, the Belize government says it will lodge a strong protest with Guatemala after several nationals were intercepted by 3 Guatemalan armed force vessels on the Sarstoon River, part of the disputed area, on Monday. The Ministry of National Security said the incident occurred during a visit to the area by a group from the Belize Territorial Volunteers. It said the visitors had reported to the security forces at the Sarstoon Forward Operating Base and were being escorted through the northern channel of the Sarstoon River when they were intercepted by 3 Guatemalan vessels that blocked their passage. One of the locals on the boat described the experience.
You can see across the entrance to the river, the Guatemalan Belize, and to see these 2 boats just audaciously, or what we say in a Belize Creole, we say facey, came all the way across and now lingering in clearly what is Belizean territory. Folks, what we're looking at in front of us is the Sarstoon Island. And as I was trying to explain when we were approaching that, it has the river forks, but this is clearly Belizean territory. And as we can see, this is what I consider to be menacing. This is provocation, and this is what Guatemala. This is how Guatemala wants to pursue their claim by bullying us.
The ministry said several attempts were made to outmaneuver the Guatemalan Armed Forces vessels to no avail, and the visitors and escorts withdrew. Following the incident, the Belize security forces at the Sarstoon Forward Operating Base conducted a routine patrol around Sarstoon Island and faced no resistance from the Guatemalan Armed Forces. There are calls for Jamaica's Attorney General to step down as the fallout continues over the National Identification and Registration Act being declared unconstitutional. Last week, the Supreme Court struck down the law which would oversee the implementation of a National Identification System, NIDS. The court ruled that the NIDS Act is null and void, unconstitutional, and has no legal effect. And amid calls for the resignation of the Attorney General Marlene Malahou Fort, one attorney is appealing to government to listen to the people.
It's arguably the third constitutional blunder by the Andrew Holness administration, which led to public outcry. First, there were the pre-signed undated letters of resignation for senators, which the court declared null and void, the temporary appointment of the Chief Justice, and now the Supreme Court throwing out the National Identification and Registration Act. For attorney Nicole Gordon,
I do have a concern regarding how constitutional matters have been treated by the administration. This is not the first time.
On this occasion, the opposition, civil society, and other stakeholders pointed to issues with the NIDS bill.
And if the Bar Association, a credible organization, raises concerns, then some serious regard ought to be had to those concerns. And yet it appears that that was ignored. Those things affect how it is that government relates to the people.
Political commentator Dr. Paul Ashley was more forthright, placing the blame at the feet of Attorney General Marlene Malahou Fort for giving bad legal advice. She too represented the government during the NIDS case.
It seems to me that she had a hand in its creation and she sought to defend it herself. Normally, these things would be handled by the Solicitor General. I would say that in the Westminster Whitehall tradition, she should offer a resignation, given that she put her signature on this move. You know, and I'm saying this is the last in a long line of what would consider a bad advice being given to the government.
Meanwhile, the private sector organization of Jamaica, the Jamaica Manufacturers and Exporters Association, and the Jamaica Chamber of Commerce are urging the government and opposition to begin consultations on the National Identification and Registration Act. The organizations say they should settle differences in the law and avoid provisions which offend the Constitution. They also want the bill to return to Parliament as soon as possible.
The St. Lucia government says it's working to get back in the European Union's good books when it comes to tax compliance because it can't afford to lose out on foreign investment and funding. Last month, the EU published a black list naming several CARICOM countries among those considered non-cooperative tax jurisdictions. St. Lucia was not among them, but it was placed on a grey list of countries whose governments have to undertake reforms by December this year. Delivering the budget to Parliament on Monday, Prime Minister Alan Chastanet said St. Lucia is doing what it must to become compliant.
St. Lucia can ill afford to be on the wrong side of these international tax requirements. Compliance on international tax matters affects the investment climate, the availability of funding, and the general perception of a jurisdiction. As a small island developing state, we need to attract foreign direct investment and obtain funding in order to achieve the level and economic growth of development, which we need. This being said, Mr. Speaker, my government will continue its efforts in meeting the international standards on tax transparency and the exchange of information which have been set not only by the EU, but also by the Global Forum and the OECD.
Coming up in Caribbean Newsline, a call for more security cooperation among CARICOM countries. Stay with us.
Now let's season the shrimp. Add salt, lemon, ginger, and now add your chopped seasonings and use your hand to mix everything together. Pack the shrimp in and smoothen out the top. And now just flip it over and you have a nicely shaped shrimp burger.
Well, we're living in a period of economic boom. The stock market is doing well. Unemployment is at record lows. Consumers are happily spending money, and in a consumer-driven economy, that's always good news. Jobs are, in fact, so plentiful. There's a shortage of available employees, and companies with jobs to fill are seeking out those who are employed elsewhere. Skilled American workers have become free agents, so to speak, signing with the highest bidder. But all is not entirely rosy.
Welcome back. The recent increase in criminal activity across the region has prompted a call for greater cooperation among CARICOM states on issues of security. It follows the meeting of the CARICOM Council on National Security and Law Enforcement in Grenada. We get the details in this report from GBN News.
Following a meeting here last Friday under the chairmanship of Prime Minister Dr. Keith Mitchell, the Council agreed that increased coordination would achieve more significant results in the battle against the flow of illegal drugs and guns, transnational crime, and the heightened incidence of homicide. Prime Minister Mitchell said that the current situation in Venezuela has the potential to impact the region and is in fact already impacting neighboring countries.
We must therefore have regular discourse on security and adopt regional positions that give consideration to what is best for all concerned. It's therefore critical for me to point out that we all should be singing from the same hymn sheets with respect to Venezuela. It's unfortunate that we have not been doing so. And just record that as a fact. It's important for us to realize that the only way we will succeed and be taken seriously, we must hold hands together. We will not always agree with each other. We must hold hands together.
Regional security ministers reaffirmed the relevance of the management framework for crime and security in the community and proposed elements of the draft agenda for a special meeting of the Conference on Security scheduled for the 3rd of May in Trinidad and Tobago.
It's a trend sparked by a music video that has gone viral, but zessing and zessers in Trinidad and Tobago are being given a warning. It has come from Attorney General Faris Al-Rawi as he piloted the controversial Explain Your Wealth legislation in the Senate on Monday. And if you're a bit puzzled, you'll understand more after this TV6 news report.
It's a music video which has amassed nearly 1 million views on YouTube alone. While it has taken the country by storm, Attorney General Faris Al-Rawi believes it emits a troubling signal.
And in our country, where we can be celebrating a song called the Zesser and glorifying a Zesser man with a Glock and a Beretta and enticing young people to join gang activity because of the bling, we intend to take the bling away.
How? Through the Civil Asset Recovery and Management and Unexplained Wealth Bill 2019, where persons under investigation for offences under the Proceeds of Crime Act would get a chance to go before the court and explain how they got their assets.
So message to all Zessers in this country, keep your receipts, show where you got it from your employment, put your trail of evidence together, or make sure that you are not on that block demonstrating unlawful gains.
Al-Rawi says he would be removing a $1 million painting at his office and putting it with an asset trustee. According to the AG, he was recently made aware of it when a member of staff told him that he should have it insured.
I said, well, what are we doing with a $1 million painting? Only to realize that it was proceeds of crime given back to Trinidad and Tobago by the U.S. government in the Piarco Airport inquiry, received by Anand Ramlogan.
Well, former Attorney General Anand Ramlogan says he has no comment concerning this.
The Caribbean Court of Justice, the CCJ, celebrated its 14th anniversary on Tuesday, with President Justice Adrian Saunders saying the regional court has much to be proud of. The CCJ was established in 2001 to replace the London-based Privy Council as the region's final court of appeal. And Justice Saunders said the court has launched a strategic plan which will direct activities over the next 5 years. He believes that Barbados, Belize, Dominica and Guyana are enjoying tremendous advantage over the other Caribbean states that have not signed on to the court's appellate jurisdiction.
An advantage which, as has been indicated by Ms. Rampasad before me, is demonstrated first in the volume of cases that reach the CCJ compared to those that go elsewhere, and therefore in the extent to which that tapestry is being illuminated in those countries that enjoy the Caribbean Court of Justice as their final court of appeal. And we are here to serve those who are sending their appeals to us. And my view is that those who are not, they are missing out.
Ahead in Newsline Sport, experienced West Indies seamer Kemar Roach confident of a return to the West Indies squad. We'll be right back.
Coffee is the youngest Jamaican artist in 41 years to have a song on the UK charts. Her smash hit Toast entered the UK official singles chart at number 84. Her EP Rapture, released on March 14th, debuted at number 1 on the Billboard Reggae Albums chart with first week sales of 444 copies. Oops. The EP's title track will be the next single to be released internationally.
The Ministry of National Security is placing Tobago as a priority and tightening its borders. This as 2 refurbished interceptors were distributed to the Tobago Coast Guard to patrol the northern and western ends of the island. One would be stationed in Charlottesville and the other in Scarborough.
So we've refurbished the first 2 of those 14 interceptors, and we took a strategic decision that those first 2 would be stationed in Tobago.
Experienced West Indies seamer Kemar Roach is confident of getting a recall to the senior squad as the Caribbean side prepares to face Ireland and Bangladesh in a Tri-Nation series next month. A back injury had forced the Barbadian out of the 5-match one-day series against England in the Caribbean last month, but the 30-year-old says he's on the mend and should be ready for the regional side's next assignment.
Obviously I haven't gone 100% in the next yet, but still time to build up. A couple of weeks still before first game in Ireland, so I'm gradually improving and now I'm ready for the first game. I'm in the gym a lot of therapy with Mia at Jackie's clinic. I've done a lot of work obviously on my back and on my action and technique as well, so hopefully in 2 weeks time I should be ready to go at full gas.
Roach has taken 114 wickets in 80 one-day internationals and last featured in the 3-match series in Bangladesh last December. He says he hopes to use his experience in the upcoming series to bolster the bowling department.
I'm one of the experienced guys, so obviously you have to set a good example for all the other guys to follow. So for me, I think a lot of leaders on the field. I think a lot of guys are experienced in the one-day format now, so it's all about us to come together and obviously formulate a good plan, obviously how to get wickets and put West Indies in a good position so they can win games. That's what's important.
Cricket West Indies President Ricky Scarrett has hailed the enthusiasm in the West Indies training camp, which got underway at the 3Ws Oval in Barbados on Monday. Scarrett, along with Chief Executive Johnny Grave and Director of Cricket Jimmy Adams, visited the camp at the UWI Cave Hill, where the one-day squad for the Ireland Tri-Nation Series began their preparation. After addressing players and members of the coaching staff, Scarrett said he was pleased with the vibe resonating throughout the group. He said, quote, "We are in transit to Jamaica to conduct some important business, and we felt it was important to come and spend a few hours to connect with the players and wish them well for the remainder of the camp and the tour ahead. We are impressed with the vibe we got from everyone. There was a bit of a setback with the rain, but they were able to use the indoor facility, and it would seem that they have gotten off to a very positive start." End quote. Key players like batsman Shea Hope, along with seamers Shannon Gabriel and Kemar Roach, all took part in day one of the camp. They were named last week in a 14-man squad for the Tri-Nation Series in Dublin, which involves Bangladesh and runs from May 3rd to 17th. The series will be the final one for the Caribbean side before they open their campaign in the ICC 50-over World Cup in England from May 30th to July 14th. Switching sports now, Trinidad and Tobago picked up gold at the Carifta water polo event in Barbados over the weekend. The visiting Twin Island Republic team had the upper hand in the first half and kept their momentum up in the second to dominate the Bajan side and run away with the precious Carifta gold. CBC's Melissa Farley was there at the finals at the Barbados Aquatic Centre and filed this report.
The third quarter is always critical in these games as the players return with some energy after the break. Trinidad knew that although they had a healthy lead, one poor quarter could easily let Barbados back into the game and undo all their hard work. James added another early goal in this quarter for Barbados, but Gillette began to get some more safety space for Trinidad and Tobago. Another 3 goals in this session were just rewards for Barbados. But with 3 quarters of the game gone, it was TNT still leading with 8 goals, 19-11. With the end in sight, this final quarter would be all about managing the game for the visitors. And this is exactly what Team TNT was able to do. Caesar had 3 goals, and despite the home side finally finding a little way through with James scoring a game-high 8 goals, Rowley helped to seal the deal with 8 of his own for the visitors. TNT made sure they stayed on the front foot this time by 10 goals. And as the final buzzer went 24-14 the score, TNT were rewarded with a dominant victory to take the gold medal, with Barbados capturing silver.
Meanwhile, the Cayman Islands medal count increased this year at the Caribbean Swim Championships. Cayman 27's Jordan Armanese gives us a breakdown of how the island's swimmers finished.
4 medals overall. This year, 4 gold medals alone in the girls 13 to 15 age group, starting with Madison Van Duenhoven, who won gold in figures. Big meet for Abby Carnahan, gold in both solo performance and duet alongside Amber Barnes. Cayman also won gold in the team event. How about silver? There she is again, Abby Carnahan, her 3rd medal of the championships. She actually won high points for girls 13 to 15, finally bronze. Cayman got 2 medals in the 15 to 18 age group, courtesy of Jade Barnes in both solo and figures. 7 medals total in their 2nd Caribbean Championships. Cayman placed 2nd overall with Martinique 1st and host Barbados 3rd. Here's head coach Alyssa Moberg-Kinney.
Was awesome experience for the kids, and really solidified the fact that what we're doing is working and the hard work is absolutely paying off. Unfortunately, Jamaica and Aruba weren't able to join us this year. That allowed us to see what we are capable of and to work out the kinks in our program. It's given a lot of confidence to these kids.
And that's the sport. We'll be right back.
Now add 24 ounces or 3 cups of your favorite marinara sauce, either homemade or store-bought. Season with half a teaspoon of salt, a 1/4 teaspoon of pepper, a 1/4 teaspoon of dried thyme, half a teaspoon of sugar, and 2 tablespoons of parsley. Bring that to a simmer, then cover and cook on low heat for 5 minutes while you make your cheese sauce. In a large mixing bowl, combine 16 ounces of cottage cheese, 15 ounces of ricotta cheese.
But fire one bad attack, you know, I tell us that 300K, that's a pocket money. Need a money counter for count my money. IQ Music, so you know the real name on the bird paper, QN Campbell, understand? Spanish Town, born at Tom Supen, Pura Winterspen, reside in Angels right now, understand? Been to schools, Greendale Basic School, Christian Primary, then Ozemart Technical High School, you know, from there we decide, say, alright.
Again, the major developments of this day: a new bill passed that could pave the way for Belizeans to vote in a referendum on settling the border dispute with Guatemala. And in sport, experienced West Indies seamer Kemar Roach confident of a return to West Indies squad. And that's Caribbean Newsline. For news and sport around the clock, subscribe to CanonNews.com. And for more of our programming, log on to CaribVision.tv and check out our YouTube channel. We'll be back here again tomorrow. But from all of us at CNC News, good night.